Yuran, mga pagduda, mga kabalaka, o mga chismis. Kinahanglan ng pagtuki, pagsusi, o pagsuta. Sa matag isyu, mga kasayuran,
Mayong hapon mga kasugbo and welcome din sa laing episode sa atong programang Pagtuki, Pagsusi ug Pagsuta. Karong hapuna, padayon nato nga hisgutan ang kontrobersiya nga nagpalibot sa Metro Cebu Water District. Atong ikauban, siya kanhi acting president ug CEO sa Basis Conversion and Development Authority kun BCDA atol ni sa katapusang tuig sa administrasyon ni kanhi presidente Rodrigo Duterte. A longtime BCDA board member nga nag-serve as director of North Luzon Railways Corporation, Fort Bonifacio Development Corporation, Bonifacio Water Corporation, Bonifacio Communications Corporation, PhilInvest BCDA Clark Incorporated, and Philippine-Japan Initiative for Clark Green City Incorporated. Siya kanhi sa presidential management staff ni niadtong April 1999 with the rank of presidential advisor ni kanhi presidente Joseph Estrada nga gitahasan sa pag-review sa mga government infrastructure contracts ug uban pa nga mga projects funded by foreign entities. Atol sab sa administrasyon ni kanhi presidente Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, he served as senior legal consultant at the Office of the Presidential Chief of Staff in 2000 to 2007. He used to be an undersecretary sa Department of Transportation and Communications sa first year sa administration ni anhing Presidente Benigno Aquino III. And for quite a time, he also served as Chief of Staff of the late Senator John Henry Usmeña. And he handled various conglomerates as legal consultant. Grabihag kanan ninyo. kanang background, including Metro Pacific Tollways Development Corporation that he represented when it proposed in 2016 a joint venture with the city for what is now the Cebu Cordova Link Expressway. Mga kasugbo, attorney o bagong natudlo nga board sa MCWD, director sa MCWD board, attorney Aristotol Batuhan. Mayong hapon, attorney.
Mayong hapon, Vilma. Mayong hapon sad sa atong mga nagpaminaw o nagtanaw sa atong programa.
Grabihag mga credentials ni attorney Batuhan. Pero sir, how are you?
Maayo man. Medyo natiguang akong paminaw sa pagbasa nimo sa ako. sa akong biodata. Ako na ihap pila na ka-administrasyon, no? So good sa panahon ni kanhi Presidente Joseph Estrada. But apart from my government positions, I was really actively in private practice.
Oh, yes.
Kay ang akong full-time na government job was only at the Department of Transportation and katong sa PMS. So on all this time I was at first with Sisip Salazar, Hernandez and Gatmaitan, and then later on when we mga gikan sad nga mga abogado sa Sisip formed our own law office. Unya medyo na na concentrate nako into mga corporate work, chiefly public-private partnerships and BOT contracts. Mo na nay akong na niche nga practice area,
Okay.
especially involving utilities, no? So power, telco, toll roads, water. So medyo mo na akong na concentrate nga private practice area.
Oo. Sir, ngilngig magyud kay kag mga credentials, but I know ang taga Dakbayan sa Subo, especially ang taga Barangay Guadalupe, yes, Guadalupe sa Sitio Banawa. Naara ba to'y proposal no nga himuong barangay sab ang Banawa pero murag pero nawa sa Pasig.
Tulo yun unta na ka barangay, no? Kaya English is also on its own, di ba? Dako sad enough and comparable to most of the barangays in Cebu City, no? So ang Banawa sad pero naaman to'y nahimo nga plebisito o nya wa man makalusot, no? So we are still part of Barangay Guadalupe.
So aside from Guadalupe, daghan nga nakaayo nimo ang uban nga mga bahin siguro sa Dakbayan sa Subo, mga barangays, Attorney Batuhan, gusto pang mas makaila. Kinsa ba gyud ni si Attorney Aristotle Batuhan?
Nagdako ko sa sa ang among kung matawag man nimo nga ancestral house is in Sambag 2 sa North District.
Okay.
In fact, si Konsehal Noel Wenceslao, ako kanang kababata, no? Mag-basketball mi sa unang gagmay pa mi, kaya namin may gamay nga basketballan sa garahe sa among panimay. So silingan mi ni Noel Wenceslao mo, ambak na to siya skoral niya. Mag-basketball mi. Atun karon kay ang among ancestral house na naguba naman akong gitukuran og dormitory para sa mga estudyante sa SWU Finma.
Negosyante na po ka.
Nagsuway-suway. So makita mo yung sahay ni Konsehal Noel diha og ang iyahang anak nga maoy barangay captain karon sa Sambag 2. So diha ako nagdako, pero pag grade 2 na ako, nibalhin namin sa Banawa kay ang akong inahan is a long time public school teacher. Gusto man siya nga duol ra siya sa eskwelahan kung asa siya nagtrabaho at na sa damong panimay, no? So nagtudlo siya for a while sa Southwestern, later on nibalhin sa Banawa. Ngadto na sad mi nagpuyo, unyawa na sa gyud na siya mopahawa sa Banawa until she retired. Bisag i-promote siya, di siya gusto kay gusto naman siya nga naara siya permis Banawa.
Okay.
So after that, I went to UP Cebu High School. Akong elementarya o kindergarten sa what used to be called Cebu Normal School, CNS. It became Cebu State College, and I believe it is now
University.
Cebu Normal CNU, Cebu Normal University. So sa high school, I was in UP Cebu High School. It's a long story, but I'll make it short, no? When I graduated from high school, I was supposed to go to UP Diliman, pero ang nahitabo kay ang akong apuhan kaniadto nahadlok nga mahimo kong aktivista sama sa akong barkada nga si Ruben Caranza.
Okay.
Gipapauli ko gikan sa Manila sa akong maguwang. Unya, since I was already enrolled in economics, nangita na lang kong eskwelahan in Cebu nga naay that offered economics. Unfortunately, UP Cebu at that time did not have that course. So I enrolled in University of San Carlos. I took up economics there. I became active in student politics, or even in UP Cebu as high school student council chairman. I became ang gitawag niya to Supreme Student Government. No, sa University of San Carlos. And I was the editor-in-chief of today's Carolinian. Si Sir Win amo maning kontra sa sa partido sa among sa San Carlos kaniadto.
So kamo po day contemporary?
Pero lain sila nga partido. Niadtong panahon na kay kami kuno mga aktivista man.
Bitaw sir, kanang nakadungog nako sa imuhang name before nga kanang at that time ba tunog na inana niya, uy kanang gwapo kay na si taas
nahurot ng buhok.
So Pero dili ka kuan, aktivista lang. Oh.
Aktivista.
Okay. So you also graduated sa imuhang law sa USC.
Yes, so after University of San Carlos, the EDSA revolution happened in 1986. Na reinstitute ang Philippine Senate. So I had the chance to, I was active with Panagiusa. At that time, I was the sectoral representative of the youth sector sa Panagiusa. Unya, pagkahuman sa EDSA Revolution, na-appeal ko sa kampanya ni Senator Osmeña o ni Senator Leti Shahani. No? Unya, they invited me to work with them and they were elected to the Senate. In the meantime, I was starting my education in UP, taking up my master's in economics, and eventually went to law school. No? I served briefly with Senator Shahani. Unya, I became later on chief of staff of the office of Senator Sani Osmeña. Now, after law school, I went to Sisip Salazar, Hernandez and Gatmaitan, the largest law firm in the Philippines. And after about 2.5 years, I took up my Master of Laws degree in Harvard Law School, and then I worked there in Massachusetts for almost 2 years. And then ibalik na ko in about, I think, late 1995 or early 96. So balik ko sa SISIP, and then 1998 mo na to, no, sa kang ERAP, I was invited to help review government infrastructure projects and contracts.
Okay.
So nagsugod na akong kuan sa gobyerno exposure.
So sa imuhang law, sir, ang imuhang practice not so much with litigation.
Sa una nga mga kanang formative years sa imong practice, no, sa SISIP, in your first 2 years, you are rotated among the major practice areas.
But so in Manila wala kayo diri sa Cebu.
Wala. Nga sa SISIP naman ko sa Manila. So from litigation, maadto ka corporate, special projects, labor, immigration. So ako nang natuyok ang tanan ng mga practice areas until after coming from Harvard Law School, medyo na-expose ko more into mergers and acquisitions. So corporate na akong practice starting 96, and then I concentrated on utilities and project finance, and then later on katong mga niuso na public-private partnership.
So utilities is not an alien para nimo.
Medyo mo na nagsugod-sugod na ko nga ano nga mga projects. So katong, if you remember, in the early 90s, starting from the late 80s, no, sa panahon ni Corazon Aquino, later on kang FVR, katong power crisis, di ba? So mo tong the advent of IPPs, kanang gitawag og independent power producers. Unya at the same time, ang akong trabaho sa Senate with Senator Osmeña, who was then the chairman of the Committee on Energy, nagsugod na tong plano to privatize and eventually unbundle, no, the what was then Napocor, all of the functions of Napocor were bundled, no, ang generation, distribution, transmission, and supplier retail. So nagsugod-sugod na ang akong practice areas ni adto on utilities. After energy, if you remember, telco na sad ang sunod nga mura og hitabo nga utility nga nausab, no. There was sa bag-ong terminolohiya, disruption, no, in telcos. Ang mga legacy carriers, ang PLDT ug ang uban nga mga telepono in the smaller communities, nawagtang na tong landline, nagsugod ang mga di ba, ang mga mobile phones. So the Telco Act in 1992, and at the time si Senator Osmeña was also the chairman of the Public Services Committee, drafted, no, the Telco Act. Act, which became the Telco Act, divided the country into 12 different regions, and supposedly each region na siya'y kaugalingon nga telco provider. But as experience showed us, nag-consolidate ang mga telco.
Yeah.
No, mo nang nahabilin at that time, basically duha na lang, no, nahimo og duopoly ang PLDT
and
at that time PhilTel pa siya, di ba?
Oh yes.
PLDT, PhilTel, and then Globe. Later on niabot ang ang Digital, because of the capital requirement, no, of the business. Medyo nag-consolidate, so mo nang nausab na sad ang setup sa telecommunications. And after telco na privatize, government realized that it does not have the resources, no, for the infrastructure required for utility. So airports, toll roads, water, mo na say medyo na-interesado na ang private sector.
Yes.
No, of course we know that government warts and all is never efficient operating a public utility.
Correct.
I think that's the primary reason, and of course as I said, kuwang man o wherewithals ang gobyerno, basta lang patas, no, ang mga kontrata sa private sector. I think it is only I think it is a necessity that we invite the private sector to help fund critical infrastructure projects.
Okay, nindot ng hisgutanan ang privatization na Attorney Batuhan. But before that, sa basis conversion, sir, nahimo kang acting president and CEO sa last term ni sa last year ni Presidente Duterte.
More or less, mga 6 to 18 months. After then PCEO Vince Dizon became more active with the National Task Force Against COVID, he asked me to step in, no, as BCDA acting president. So what I learned in BCDA is really a master planning community. So BCDA, for those nga dili kayo familiar, no, as you mentioned, it's Basis Conversion Development Authority, has jurisdiction over former military bases and military camps nga gibaligya sa private sector, no. So ang kanang Fort Bonifacio, which is now fast rising as the main central business district together with Makati City for the whole country. You have Clark Freeport Zone. Originally Subic, was part of BCDA, although nahimo na siya og independent republic because of Senator Gordon, but that's another story.
Yeah.
New Clark City, Poro Point in La Union, and then in Baguio you have Camp John Hay. No, so what we did was to master plan, no, unsa may buhaton nga sustainable nga development for these areas. I think of course the main mandate of BCDA, the reason for its creation is really to help modernize the Philippine Armed Forces. So the bulk of the proceeds from the privatization and development efforts of BCDA ngadto gibubo para sa modernizations atong armed forces of the Philippines. Secondary ang development, no, but I'd like to mention nga ang panalitan kaning New Clark City, no, which is not actually part of Clark, but it used to be a subzone of what used to be the Clark Air Force Base. Gi-envision na siya as probably, no, an alternative to Metro Manila, and as the seat of a government. Nga posible nato kay kung nakabantay ka karon sa Metro Manila, and sadly that's what's happening to Cebu City because of traffic congestion. Medyo kung naa kay matawag nga decaying, no, nga syudad, that is already Metro Manila, no, because of the gridlock. So it's a way to decongest Metro Manila. You develop a government center in New Clark City, already na nangadto yung mga mga facilities, and we envision it to be a smart city. Ang katong main venues nga gigamit ni atong Southeast Asian Games in 2019 was already in New Clark City. So importante ang master planning, and maybe it's something we can talk about later, kay usa na sa akong nakita nga problema sa syudad sa Sugbo, no, nga I guess typical of most LGUs in the country, if not all, wag yung master plan.
Yes.
Di ba? Pasagad na lang og the tragedy is almost every administration, labi na kung mailisan ang mayor, magsugod na sa di ba? Bisan galigdan, dan man na sa karaan nga mayor, maghimo kog laing dan atong tuparan na. Di ba? Di na to sumpayan kay moingon nga nagsunod-sunod na lang ta, di ba? So kana nga mentalidad is really is a defeatist attitude nga wa gyud tay
wa pa gyud na usab hangtod ron.
Mo nay trahedya gyud nato, di ba? So wa tay klaro nga planning sa tubig, di ba? Dad-on na lang na i-segue na lang nato sa tubig, di ba? So
controversial kayo ng tubig karon.
Ang pagpangita og sources, which is generation, di ba? Og ang pag-distribute sa tubig, which is distribution, the upstream and the downstream business, and mandate of the water district, which is MCWD in our case.
And talking about MCWD, Attorney Batuhan, and with your background, kwan ka, system builder ka. Kani karon unsa imong nakita nga prime need for MCWD to be changed for an efficient service?
Medyo siguro pwede nga usa ka buwan ta mag-istorya. pero in a nutshell, sa akong in my humble opinion, I think for a long time si MCWD was not really looking at serving the whole franchise area.
Okay.
It was content with serving a portion of its franchise area.
Okay.
Unta,
which is a very small portion lang?
Correct.
Okay.
Mainly, Cebu City lang, when its franchise area supposedly includes Talisay, Mandaue, Metro Cebu, Lapu-Lapu, Consolacion. Wala na niya gitanaw, because if I can be efficient in serving just a portion, I can make money.
Yeah.
But that is not your mandate,
Okay.
di ba? You are a government-owned and controlled corporation. Ang imong mandato to make sure that your whole franchise area is covered and served efficiently. So, unsa may nahitabo, for so many years, wa siya pagpakabana sa sustainability sa iyahang water production, no? And I think the classic example is, when was the last time before Carmen bulk water supply, when was the last time before that sa Carmen nga naa kay surface water source? Diba? Ang Buhisan was your last.
Yeah.
Diba? In the late 60s or early 70s, katong Boy Scout pa ko.
Buhisan na.
Diha na may maglatay-latay sa kilid sa Buhisan, daghan kay nagtubig.
And I think Buhisan ambot lang ha, di ko sure, but Buhisan is, I think, deteriorating.
There are portions nga wa nay tubig, labi naghuwaw. Okay, so the conception nga si water district wa nagyoy
failed.
Sa akong tanaw nga wa na siya makapangita og surface water sources nga sustainable. Nga naman, ang sayon man god nga mag-count ko, di ba? Mag-ugbo ko, or sa may tawagan na, I will bury several meters of pipe, makaigo man kong tubig sa ilawom, di ba? Ako na nang suyupon mo na akong i-distribute sa akong franchise area, but is that sustainable? No. So as early as 25-30 years ago, Father Engelen and the rest of Water Resources Center of the University of San Carlos already sounded the alarm bells. Diba? Nga because of over-extraction of water, over the extraction of groundwater, no, sa Metro Cebu, na saltwater intrusion. Kaya ang balanse, di ba? Kung masuyop, kung mahigop ang fresh water, sorry, that was the term I was looking for. Ang fresh water, musud na ang parat. Di ba? Kaya mo compensate man siya.
Yes.
Sa paghigop, pag-over-extract nimo sa fresh water. So, unta 25 years ago, si Water District nangita na unta og surface water sources. You know, you have Mananga, you have Lusaran. Because unfortunately, kung tanaw nimo ang terrain sa Cebu, ang kadaghanan sa bukid and therefore na ay watershed unta is on one side. Diba? Ang syudad or the rest of the development is on the other side nga walay tubig, walay sapa.
Mabita na akong gikahibod nga attorney kay daghan man ang sources of water in the mountain barangays of Cebu City nganong wala man ni matap sa MCWD.
Ang akong simple nga analysis niya na will ba nga ningon si Water District and this is my opinion. Ningon si Water District nga nganong ako mang usik-usikan ng akong kwarta producing water that will cost me so much money just for the transmission line when I can just bury several pipes down the ground, under the ground, and get water already, di ba?
But again, it's not sustainable.
Correct, but kaibaw naman ka, short term man ang pananaw sa kadaghanan, no, labi nang naa sa gobyerno, and I'm sorry, di ba?
Because you're part of government.
I was,
and you're being kanang placed there by Mayor Mike to solve this.
Well, siguro bisa na lang
situation sa
on policy matters, di ba? So, mo na importante unta bang kaniadto pa lang nakahibaw na kasaon sa problema, nangita ka og sustainable water sources. Diba? Because as we mentioned, if you're talking about Mananga, about Lusaran, ni adto ang projected yield ni ana nga mga sources would have been over 200, 300 MLD, no? Million liters daily unta. But because of, urbanization, na anay mga lumulupyo nga ni sulod na sa watershed, ni ana mo kagamay ang watershed, and therefore the yield, the volume of water that can be extracted from this surface water sources, ni kunhod sad. Diba? The longer we wait, the longer the smaller the yield that we will get from the surface water sources, no? So I'm hoping nga si Water District will look at this seriously nga. I know there is a premium, no? For example, Carmen and the sources in the other side of Cebu will cost in terms of transmission, no? Ang tubig dalon man nimo ngadto kung asa ang mga catchment o reservoir sa Water District. So na siya ay additional cost, no? But that is the only way we can sustain our supply of water. So that, of course, desalination, pero at this time it's still very expensive, but we still need, no, a portion kay ideally mura og power nimo naa kay lain-lain nga sources that will be put together in a mix, and the result would be a blended cost, no? Naa kay mas mahal pero mas madali nimo nga nga source, desalination, naa kay medyo layo-layo nga source nga surface water, naa kay mas barato nga unta imong hinahinayan sa og kunhod ang supply, no, para dili kayo ka dependent on groundwater sources, and all of this mao na siya imong i-sustain unta nga tubig for the future of Cebu City and its requirements, no, sa mga tao. So I think a lot of it has to be kaning reorientation of priorities, no, sa Water District.
But with you, sir, on board with the board, unsa may immediate or say long-term solution that maybe with the current board can come up to solve this situation?
I think again atong tan-awon ang upstream ug ang downstream, no? Sa upstream, which is the supply, ang importante ni ana nga we encourage as many proponents to supply water, be it surface water or desalination or asa pa bakaha. Kung naay mo propose ni atong pagkuha og tubig gikan sa Inabanga, diba? Nga ilang dalon nga rin ang tubig kay nasubrahan man ng tubig sa Inabanga. We will look at the costing, and if that is feasible, why not? Diba?
I mean, do we need to import water from other places, or we have enough supply nga kinahanglan lang itap?
As I said, with a shortage of about 300 MLD, I think we need all the possible options, no, that are available. So, I'm not saying kinahanglanon yun at this time, but we have to look at the feasibility and the cost. No, I remember Lito Osmeña before, yahaman tong isuwat-suwat sa papel kung unsay sa cost sa pag-extract sa tubig sa Inabanga, padong sa Cebu, pagbutang atong mga membrane, basta na to siya costing. So, if it amounts to an affordable price, why not?
Okay.
Now, desalination, technology is still evolving, di ba? And eventually, mubarato gyud unta na siguro. But I think even at a much higher price than surface water source like Carmen, kinahanglan gihapon na nato because there are because of the shortage of supply naa kay mga konsumidor, and I'm talking about locators in the Mactan Export Processing Zone, other businesses and factories nga they would rather pay 60-65 pesos per cubic meter of water than pay 700 pesos of tracked in water, di ba? Kanang dalon sa mga trucks nga mga 700 pesos per cubic meter. Di ba? So it's a no-brainer.
Okay. Pero how capable the city attorney with the logistics, with the infrastructure, capable ba ang city to mount such huge project, or the city would eventually venture into the privatization scheme?
Okay, so kana atong i-explain with unsa man na ang privatization. As we mentioned, just like in the power sector, there are mas komplikado siguro ang power sector nga other than kaning distribution nga pwede nimong i-privatize, and even generation, transmission is still mura og nationalized.
Okay.
In water, you have basically distribution and generation, no? In the past, si MCWD sourced its own water.
Okay.
So siya maoy nigasto sa pagbuhat sa buhisan, sa pag-extract of water underground, di ba? Siya mo'y nag-maintain sa mga makina to extract groundwater. Pero later on, nisugod na siya og privatize. In the sense nga, he now buys water from proponents, no? Or developers or generators of water. An example is Carmen. Diba? So, that in itself, sa upstream na kay privatization. Now, sa downstream, that is the more controversial form of privatization. Pero, again, and I'm not saying nga today or right this minute I am in favor of privatization. But I want to desensitize. Meaning gusto nato nga matagaan og mas lawom-lawom nga pag-istoryahanay ang kaning privatization, di ba? Nganong mo resort man ka og privatization in certain operations o public utilities. Tungod kay, as I mentioned, government will not have enough money to fund,
Yeah.
di ba? Pananglitan, anam og kadako na sad ang atong non-revenue water. Ang non-revenue water is water nga nausik lang.
Yeah.
Sometimes or most of the time
Sa
tungod niya ng
leaking.
mga leaking, kuha nimo pipes underground, di ba? If you replace all of that, just like what Maynila did in the West Concession area of Metro Manila, pila man na ka bilyones ang magasto, no? So what you do is you tap the private sector. Now whether or not ang distribution, ang totality sa distribution or ang kana lang pag repipe nimo, that's up for discussion. But what I'm saying is, would you rather have expensive water or no water?
Yeah.
Diba? That was the very question that had to be answered by people in Metro Manila in the early 90s. Diba? When water drip from their faucet only once a day.
Yes, oh.
Diba? So niingon sila, of course, privatize, diba? We'd rather have water nga magbayad mi kay kani, again, this is a reorientation, no, nga daghan man gud nga mga atong mga kaigsuonan, labi na ang katong mga medyo pareha na natong edad na apil na kada.
Yeah.
Parehang edad na mo ni Sir Win, di ba?
Manghod na ko niyo gamay.
Naanad nga libre ang tubig.
Yes, oh.
But it is not for free, di ba? Do not ask the government to provide you with free water. Imo man ang kinahanglan bayaran. No? Otherwise, tanan na lang atong pangayoon sa gobyerno. Are we ready to pay the taxes so that government can give us all of these services for free? Dili man, di ba? So, mangita taglain nga pamaagi. And this is, that's why it's called a public-private partnership. The private sector will come in with its expertise and with its vast resources. Government will make sure you regulate it para dili maalkansi ang konsumidor. Diba? So I will cite the example of Sisilek. Diba? Kay nagsugod naman nga proyekto. For the private sector, when they propose that, ningon sila nga, we will spend for everything.
Yeah.
We will of course assess or we will charge toll rates, di ba? Now, moingon ang mga tao nga di man may maka-afford niya na. Di adto mo sa libre nga agianan. Ito sa Fernan Bridge, sa Serio Osmeña Bridge, di ba?
Sa Osmeña Bridge.
Right. But for those who from Northern Cebu City or Northern Cebu nga mas convenient na nga moagi sa Sisilek and they can pay, especially those siguro going to the beach resorts or going to the airport, ato na lang sila moagi kaysa moadto pa ko adto sa Mango Avenue, adto pa ko sa Mandawi, grabe kay traffic kunya mo tipas or mo labang kung adto sa Mactan, no? And
there is a better alternative and a better option.
Yes, so
it's up to you to choose asa ka.
Exactly. So arita sa tubig nga kung gusto ta nga mailisa ng atong mga karaan nga mga water pipes kay usahay na ba mo man ay rason nga na ay ma-food poisoning or dili food sa
ma-contaminated
ang water, di ba? Ang tubig sa tubo nga tayaon na, di ba? Let the private sector come in. Now, the challenge for the regulator for MCWD is to make sure nga ang return nga imong ihatag sa private sector, if you are kung mao na siya direction nga imong i-privatize, cap man na siya 12% kay public utility man siya. 'Di ba? Meaning ang imong ginansya, 'di ba, from operating a public utility will only be capped at 12%. Dili ka makapataka og presyo sa imuhang serbisyo beyond 12%. No, so mao na siya naa kay assurance for that. Now, I am sure, no, employees of the water district moingon mawagtangan mig trabaho. That is not always the case, di ba? They should be given, and if it happens again, kung mahitabo, di ba? Tagaan og prioridad ang mga empleyado karon sa water district nga may empleyo kung kinsa may mo take over. Again, I am making kaning theoretical assumptions.
Okay.
Dili boti pasabot nga karon dayon ato ning buhaton ang privatization. I am just saying ang kani manggong daghan kaayo moingon ba nga murag nahimo na siya og kanang unsa man na bastos nga word ba nga privatization, uy katuyaw privatization, di ba?
Kadlukan.
So let's desensitize it para ang atong discussion or ang atong conversation about privatization is more informed, di ba? Dili nga bati ba na, but do we know what it is all about, di ba?
So are you for privatization?
If the conditions really necessitate,
Okay.
no, nga panalitan ang kaning NRW dili na gyud ni ma-arrest, dili na mausab ang iyahang pagsigig taas from 30%, let's say next year mahimo nag 40%. Can you imagine, you have, let's say supply nimo is 100 MLD, ang 40 MLD is just wasted, di ba? Nagbayad ka for nothing, 60% ra imong nakuha sa imong gibayad nga piso. So I would rather the private sector to go into repair of this, and let us discuss kung unsa may makuha no sa private sector in exchange for what it is coughing out as the cost of siguro rehabilitating the pipeline.
Okay.
I do not know, maybe again we'll have to study this more carefully kung unsa may portions sa uban pa nga mga aspeto sa trabaho sa MCWD that you can privatize.
Okay.
No?
But
So,
not the entirety of MCWD.
again, I will have to study that. We will have to study that as a board. We will depend also on management to look at the options. But para nako, ang importante nga ato sang masabtan ang totality sa problema.
Okay.
No, sa water district, especially when it comes to downstream, ang distribution.
Sa kasamtangan, Attorney Batuhan, sa imuhang nakita og sa mga limitasyon nga nag-surround sa MCWD, especially in its mandate to distribute, to give clean and affordable water. As of the present, can MCWD deliver its mandate efficiently?
I have doubts
Okay.
na ako'y pagduda sa kapasidad presently. Kaya nga naman, nakakita ako panalitan after the board, during the board meeting kanina, no, nga ang source of revenue sa syudad sa MCWD kung dili makahatag og increase ang luwa, dili ma-approve ang iyahang petition for an increase, negative na next year. Ang balance sheet sa MCWD og magsige na siya og magkagrabe, no? So asa pa man siya mukuha og pondo for the supply, for the rehabilitation of its pipes. So kuwang nang iyahang kwarta even just to sustain,
So
diba, supplying water.
MCWD currently at present is not sustainable.
Yes. It may be at this time not yet in dire
Bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy or kung pasyente pa dili pa ni dili pa critical.
Okay.
Pero
Padung na
nagsugod
sa
na
critical.
cancer.
Okay.
Naanay cancer nga na-detect. Diba? So importante nga early intervention.
So wala pa kung sa cancer pa na wala pa
Metastasize.
maka-metastasize. Okay, but naana ang cancer.
Nagsugod na stage 1 pa.
Okay, so dili pa ingon ana kay kung stage 1 ka, pwede pa na curable pag yun.
Of course. Mo na importante nga mag-istoryahanay na ta, mangita na ta og solusyon para ang atong water district can be more efficient in distributing affordable and potable, affordable water.
So
to
in the
consumers.
next 5 to 10 years, dili pa viable ang possibility that MCWD will be privatized.
Downstream?
Yeah.
Sa akong tanaw, dili pa kinahanglan siguro. based on my knowledge at this time. But again, maybe kung mas nakakita nako sa sa financial health sa atong water district, unsay posibilidad, no, or siguro the chances nga as it negotiates mo sa usa siguro, Wilms, no, nga na ay mga pipila ka mga kontrata karon, procurement nga nag-ung-ong nga gitan-aw na mo ang presyo medyo taas yun. And if they pursue that without any increase, medyo ma-negative yun ang water district, no? So, can it sustain paying for this new supply, which I know is very critical, no? Kay shortage of about 300 MLD sa demand. Diba? So, you really need all the supply that you can get. But can we pay for the supply that's coming in?
Because si Mayor Mike Rama, siya strongly is against privatization as of the moment. Kay mausab ni ang morgimong battle cry sa kampo nila ni Attorney Dalus nga mao kuno nay usa sa mga rason ngano nga gitaktak sila tungod kay eventually ipa-privatize ni Mayor Mike Rama ang MCWD, which the mayor said nga no, wala pa na sa iyahang huna-huna ang pag-privatize.
So in fairness to Mayor Mike, when he asked me to join the MCWD board, he never set any preconditions.
Okay.
Kinahanglan mo ning linyaha ang inyong sundon. Mo ni akong opinion o kinahanglan nga kung mulingkod ka diha. Mo ni mo sundan wala.
Okay.
Diba? So I am speaking as an individual based on my experience, no, nga para nako at this time dili nato, as I said, diba? Let's not make a bad word or a malicious concept
of privatization.
We have to, in a sober manner, no, kanang watay kaning mga mga preconceived notions nga sayop about privatization, diba? Atong istoryahan nato nga atong problema kakuwang sa tubig. Unsaon man nato, diba, nga naatay tubig nga madawat gikan sa gripo nga atong kung magpakonekta sa MCWD, whether it's through privatization or whatever. Let us go through that together in a sober discussion of solutions, no, para sa dako kayo nga problema sa tubig. As they say, di ba? The next World War may be fought over water.
Yes.
And that can be, di ba? Dako nga posibilidad. So, dili ta mo ingon nga dili gud na mahimo ang privatization. Ngano man unsa may rason nganong moingon ka nga dili mahimo ang privatization.
Correct.
Diba? Once you have studied it, inyo nang nanay diskusyon nga naay na ebidensya, naay scientific basis, then maybe that's the time you come up with a conclusion whether it is for us or not.
So will you eventually suggest to Mayor Rama on the possibility of privatizing MCWD?
If the conditions warrant already.
Okay. Sir, arita sa issue karon. By the way, you had a meeting kaganina?
Yes, our second board meeting.
So how was it? Were you allowed entry? Because there was a statement gani mo pwede pasudlon.
The guards of MCWD were courteous enough.
Okay.
Igo raming gipalag sa logbook. Nya gipatagbo mi sa head sa security. Unya ningon mi nga naaman mi on the basis of our appointments, I think we think we should be allowed to hold a meeting in the premises, no, of the water district. So gikuyugan mi sa boardroom, no, and we were able to invite the acting general manager and the finance people and the board secretary to join us in holding and conducting our second board meeting.
Ang inyong paglingkod, Attorney Batuhan, is still being questioned by the group of Attorney Dalus. In fact, I think karon ning adlaw nga na ay item ang the Freeman nga nag-ingon that the Local Water Utilities Administration dismissed the termination order issued by Cebu City Mayor Mike Rama on the Luz, Seno, and Engineer Pato atong order niya. And then, unsa may ang LUA administrator maoy ni paggawas niini nga maong kamanduan. So, unsa may inyo estado with kamo nga bag-ong sakop sa board nga gi-appoint ni Mayor Rama with this order coming from LUA?
Sa akong pagbasa ni Ana Bish na nalibog ko kung saan may i-dismiss ang termination. Di ko kasabot. But anyway, I think the bottom line is ang maong
gi-dismiss ang termination. So, unsa
or gi-terminate ang dismissal.
Or ilang gi-deny na lang unta gi-deny ang termination. Ano pag gi-dismiss ang termination?
Pagdali-dali niya, wa niya kaayo mahuna-huna kung unsay terminology nga sakto, but
pero abogado ba ni si kuan sir? Attorney Homer Revel?
Daghan ba yang abogado nga 2-5?
Dismiss the termination when
there are lawyers and there are
denied the
lawyers.
termination. Okay.
So, para nako ang kanang letter expresses an opinion of Reveal as the administrator of LUA, but I think ang suwat manggod ni Mayor Rama no nga iyahang gipadangat ngadto sa board sa LUA, no? The governing board of the Local Water Utilities Administration is a board composed of a chairman, the vice chairman who is the administrator, and ex officio members from 4 different departments. No?
So all in all, 5
or 6. Yeah, I think 4 or 5 or 6.
6.
So the departments of finance kay dako man ng component ang kwarta no sa LUA kay masyaman mo ay magpaluwat o kuan kanang loans no, sa mga water districts. DENR, I think DTI is also there, Public Works. So na sila representante. So it should be a board decision, no. Ang gipadangat ni Mayor Rama nga as a result of his investigation kay if you remember ang nahitabo na ay mga complaints no nga gipadangat if I'm not mistaken gikan sa ang uban gikan sa mga empleyado sa MCWD ngadto gi-file sa ombudsman. Ang ombudsman kay wa man siya power to remove the MCWD, the alleged directors or the chairman and directors involved. Gisuwat niya, gi-refer niya ngadto sa mayor.
Okay.
So naghimo og investigasyon ng mayor. After the investigation, nisuwat siya sa LUA recommending the suspension, I don't know kung termination, no? The suspension of
first recommendation was suspension, I think lang. And then prior to, there was further investigation that led into the dismissal of these 3 official board.
So gisuwat na niya ngadto no sa LUA board. It should be the LUA board as a policy matter to answer the mayor whether under PD 198 naa siya'y katungod no nga mo hulip sa iyahang judgment in a case where there is a complaint referred to it by the office of the ombudsman. So it's a legal question. Again, in another interview ningon ko Vince no nga ang kanimang kong problema nato sa tubig no na compound ni siya ni samot ni siya because can you imagine how many water agencies there are under different national agencies. So you have LUA. I think it used to be under Department of Public Works, naabot sa DNR, na yung Office of the President, MWSS in Metro Manila, the Metropolitan Waterworks Sewerage System. Lain-lain na siya na nagdagtuyok-tuyok. Ang NWRB, no, which is a very crucial function, the National Water Resources Board. It grants water permits, water rights. No? Kanasad, lain-lain sa ng mga ahensya. All of these water agencies under a proposed bill nga medyo ngatong nagtrabaho pa ko in 1987 sa Senate, nanay na file niya nga bill, no?
Dugaya ra.
Called the murag ningon yung kantiguang na. Under Water Resources Authority of the Philippines, or the RAP bill, to house together all of the water agencies para
mausara
na ay coordination. Diba? Ang mga water districts, ALUA, NWRB, NWSS, tanan.
Pero wala.
Diba? The regulator. Hantod karon wag gyapon mapasar. But I know that under the administration of Ferdinand Marcos Jr., na ay ongoing discussions karon. Now, either the result is a separate department or it's just an authority. Ang importante, ma-consolidate ang tanang water agencies. Now, as I mentioned, kay naanay gap, no, na vacuum ang nga naman nga you have the right to appoint but you do not have the right to terminate or to fire, di ba? So, you know, whether, again, moingon ang na ako'y nadunggan nga ang kaning incumbent ang kaning mga old board ningon nga na-politicize ang process. Nga naman pagkatudlo nila wa ito ma-politicize, di ba? So when the shoe is on the other foot, lain na di na maigo ang sapatos, di ba? So I hope all of these inadequacies of the law matubag kung naanay bagong departamento.
Kanusa ka na mahitabo?
Uy, ningon nga kuha na, nagsige, I know for a fact nga, nagsige na ni og meeting, unya, they are ready to recommend the draft bill, and it will be certified as urgent. So, hopefully, in the next, siguro, in the next session,
talking about politicizing the appointment ba Attorney Batuhan, ang imuhang appointment being the representatives sa women's sector is also being questioned. Ngano kuno, do you have the personality and the personality to represent the women's sector? Kay there's a provision diri, Attorney Batuhan, sa creation sa MCWD nga ang representative should be, because there was a comparison between you, kanhi Mayor Alvin Garcia, and kanhi Konsehal Procopio Fernandez,
wherein
Kang Fernandez was being kanang approved nga mo represent siya sa women's sector dinha sa board tungod kay LOA adopted that amendment in 2016 nga June of 2016 gi-adapt sa LOA ang maong amendment, but Fernandez assumed in January. So ang ilang adoption was in June. So dili pa siya ma-carried adto, and besides ni kuan lang siya, carry over siya sa term nga gibiyaan ni Konsehal Joy Pisquera upon filing her COC. So with former Mayor Alvin Garcia, wala na nila honor ang maong recommendation tungod kay Mayor Garcia did not represent the women's sector.
So